Take a deep breath inside your sealed, temperature-controlled room. Feel the still, filtered air. The modern walls protecting you are hiding a dark biological secret. By locking ourselves indoors, we effectively starved our immune systems. For 99.9% of human history, your body was built strictly for the open sky. These concrete boxes you call home are quietly breaking you from the inside out, triggering a massive wave of allergies and autoimmune diseases today. This is exactly why Ape to Legend exists. To uncover one ancestral secret every week. Hit subscribe and stay on the journey with us. Think about your normal daily routine. You wake up in a box, commute in a rolling metal box, and sit inside a giant glass box. You spend up to 90% of your entire life enclosed inside four walls. You might feel perfectly safe, entirely insulated from the harsh elements, but your physical body is vibrating with a 300,000-year-old genetic memory. It remembers roaring winds, endless savannas, and a horizon that literally never ends. Deep down, your biology feels trapped. It begins to crawl with a silent panic, sensing that this sterile, unmoving environment is fundamentally unnatural and wrong. When you picture prehistoric ancestors, you probably imagine them hiding deep inside dark, damp caves, shivering in the cold, desperately waiting for the morning light. We call them cavemen, but that is a massive archaeological illusion. Caves simply preserved bones better than the open ground did over hundreds of millennia. In reality, caves were incredibly rare real estate. The vast majority of early humans were nomadic foragers who slept directly under the vast open sky. Every time they breathed, they inhaled a massive, invisible cloud of organic microbes, pollen, and natural dust lifted by the constant, sweeping ancient winds. Those microbes weren't enemies. They were vital biological training partners. Your immune system evolved to expect this constant, daily workout from the surrounding wild environment. It relied on that natural dirt to learn exactly what to fight and what to ignore. It was a perfect, finely tuned evolutionary balance. But then, roughly 10,000 years ago, humans did something that shocked our biology forever. We decided to build permanent walls and close the door. But to understand why that door broke us, we have to travel back before the walls existed. Imagine your ancestors constantly walking across the open earth. For over 300,000 years, your body was not designed to stay in one place. Staying stagnant was a guaranteed way to starve. Your tribe never slept in a sealed, dark box. You rested in temporary camps, heavily ventilated by the freezing, sweeping winds of the Pleistocene. When you woke up, you packed your simple hide tents and moved on. You left your waste, your parasites, and your old dirt far behind. This relentless movement meant your environment was constantly flushing itself clean. You were continually breathing a vast, wild ocean of diverse, living organic microbes. Your immune system evolved to literally swallow this daily microbial storm. It needed that constant exposure to properly calibrate its own complex defense mechanisms. Without the daily dirt, pollen, and natural bacteria from the open wilderness, your internal defensive army simply doesn't know how to train itself properly. Anthropologists like Richard Lee observed that mobile foragers naturally escaped the dense buildup of pathogens. Nature essentially acted as an infinite, self-cleaning ventilation system. You never had to worry about indoor air pollution or sweeping the floor. The rain washed the earth, and the wind blew the danger away. This gave your ancestors an incredibly robust biological shield. Your genes were meticulously forged in an environment of total, uncompromising exposure to the wild. Even when winter forced you to seek shelter, true deep caves were rarely used as permanent homes. They were too damp, too dark, and too suffocating. Instead, you huddled near the wide, open mouths of rock shelters. You needed the smoke from your campfire to escape, and you needed to breathe. Trapping yourself inside with no airflow would mean inhaling toxic soot until your lungs burned. You instinctively knew that enclosed spaces were highly dangerous. This perfect, open-air biological rhythm dictated every single breath of your ancestors for thousands of generations. until a massive agricultural shift changed the rules. You stopped walking. You started farming. And for the very first time in human evolution, you decided to build a permanent roof over your head. Imagine a place called Çatalhöyük, built roughly 9,500 years ago. It was one of the world's first true permanent cities, but these early homes didn't look like yours. They had no front doors, no wide windows, and no streets separating the heavily packed houses. To enter your home, you literally had to climb a wooden ladder and walk across the flat roofs of your neighbors' tightly clustered houses. You would drop down through a small hole in the ceiling. This single opening was your only door, window, and ventilation shaft combined. Inside, the air was thick and punishing. Every time you cooked a meal, the dense smoke from your fire was completely trapped inside. You were suffocating slowly. Your ancestors breathed in heavy, dark soot daily, coating their lungs and turning the indoor walls completely black over time. The open, self-cleaning winds of the savannah were entirely gone. In their place, a stagnant, artificial microclimate began to brew within these tight walls. And the creepiest part? When your family members passed away, you didn't bury them in a distant, separate cemetery far outside the living village. You buried them directly underneath the sleeping platforms of your own home. You were literally sleeping right on top of your deceased loved ones. By keeping the dead so close and living packed together with zero ventilation, you created a perfect, enclosed breeding ground for entirely new problems. You traded the dangerous predators of the open wild for a much smaller, invisible enemy that thrived in these dark, crowded, enclosed domestic spaces. We often think the invention of the house was a purely glorious leap forward. We celebrate the absolute safety and warmth it finally provided, but the archaeological evidence tells a surprisingly dark story. The bones of these early indoor humans show clear signs of severe, prolonged biological stress. According to paleopathologists, their teeth rotted, their bones showed growth interruptions, and infectious diseases began to spread like absolute wildfire through the packed settlements. You successfully locked the wild wolves and the freezing weather outside, but you accidentally trapped yourself inside an entirely new, terrifying biological cage. To make matters worse, you brought your animals inside. Living in incredibly close quarters with domesticated animals meant sharing their bodily fluids and their germs. This close proximity allowed deadly animal viruses to jump directly into the human population. This is the origin of many modern infectious diseases. Fast forward to today. Terrified of this microscopic world, we went to the absolute opposite extreme. We scrubbed, bleached, and sanitized our indoor environments entirely. We created sealed boxes with heavily filtered air, completely devoid of the natural mud, pollen, and friendly bacteria our bodies grew up with. In 1989, an epidemiologist named David Strachan noticed something very strange about children growing up in these highly sanitized, modern indoor homes. The kids living in the cleanest, most perfectly isolated houses were actually suffering the highest rates of severe allergies, asthma, and aggressive autoimmune disorders. He proposed what is now famously called the Hygiene Hypothesis, and it traces directly back to our deep evolutionary history on the savannah. Because you sterilized your environment, your immune system is now completely starved of targets. It is a highly trained army with absolutely nothing to fight. So, bored to death, it turns around and attacks you. It attacks harmless dust, innocent peanuts, or even your own healthy gut tissue. Your body is literally burning from the inside because it misses the dirt. You are experiencing the ultimate evolutionary mismatch of modern architecture. No textbook teaches this hidden history of your home. Ape to Legend does, every week. But the damage of the indoors goes beyond your immune system. Think about your eyes. For millions of years, your vision was tuned to scan distances of miles across the savannah to spot distant prey. Your eyeballs required massive doses of bright, natural sunlight to develop correctly, shaping the physical growth of the eyeball during your childhood. Now, you trap yourself indoors, staring at glowing screens just inches from your face, entirely deprived of that crucial, eyeball-shaping natural light. The result? A massive global epidemic of myopia. Your eyes are literally elongating and breaking because they believe they are living inside a dark, tiny cave. But the damage of the indoors isn't just physical. Your psychological health is also paying a devastating price for this total biological isolation. Have you ever felt the intense, crawling sensation of cabin fever? That feeling of absolute desperation when you are stuck inside a house for days. That is not just boredom. That is a deep evolutionary mismatch. Your brain expects to map massive territories, extending for miles in every direction. For hundreds of thousands of years, your spatial memory was constantly processing complex landscapes, tracking water sources, avoiding predators, and navigating dense forests. Today, that incredible spatial mapping engine is forced to navigate exactly 3 steps from your soft bed directly to your glowing computer desk. When you enclose a brain built for infinite horizons inside a tiny, predictable box, it begins to generate its own stress. It feels deeply, fundamentally trapped. This is exactly why simply cracking a window open to feel a fresh breeze can instantly lower your heart rate and calm your anxiety. And it is why the modern hobby of camping feels so profoundly healing. Going into the woods isn't a vacation, it is a biological homecoming. When you sit by that fire, staring into the dark, your brain finally recognizes the exact spatial geometry it was originally wired to understand perfectly. So if caves weren't our permanent homes, what were they? They were likely used as temporary shelters during brutal storms, or as sacred, resonant spaces. Places like Lascaux or Chauvet weren't apartments. They were ancient cathedrals. You went deep inside for art and ritual, and then you left to breathe. So, what does this mean for you today? Am I suggesting that you should burn down your house and go sleep naked in the freezing woods? Of course not. The house is a magnificent survival tool, but you have to recognize that your body is currently starving for its original biological inputs. It needs the unfiltered sunlight to shape your eyes. It desperately needs the harmless dirt to calibrate your immune system. It needs the vast horizon. Your body is not broken. It is simply remembering. It is remembering 300,000 years of living perfectly wild, completely exposed, under the open sky.
Hiya! Pow! Whap! Take that! Eek! Whoa! Ow! Oh no! Bam! Haha!
Oh man, this itch is driving me crazy. Why does this keep happening? I can't take this anymore.
Welcome to the prehistoric plains. Today, we learn about these amazing creatures. Notice the long neck? It's key to their survival.
I can't see a thing.
Let me try adjusting these.
Ugh, nope, it's too close. I think I see something out there. I'm trapped. There must be a way out. I can't breathe in here. Help me!
Look, a new area.
Amazing! Let's go this way.
Follow me.
Wow, so much space.
Look, there's a good place to gather berries. Yeah, over there. Let's go.
So, bored to death, it turns around and attacks you. It attacks harmless dust, innocent peanuts, or even your own healthy gut tissue. Your body is literally burning from the inside because it misses the dirt. You are experiencing the ultimate evolutionary mismatch of modern architecture. No textbook teaches this hidden history of your home. Ape to Legend does, every week. But the damage of the indoors goes beyond your immune system. Think about your eyes. For millions of years, your vision was tuned to scan distances of miles across the savannah to spot distant prey. Your eyeballs required massive doses of bright, natural sunlight to develop correctly, shaping the physical growth of the eyeball during your childhood. Now, you trap yourself indoors, staring at glowing screens just inches from your face, entirely deprived of that crucial, eyeball-shaping natural light. The result? A massive global epidemic of myopia. Your eyes are literally elongating and breaking because they believe they are living inside a dark, tiny cave. This brings us to cabin fever. It is not just boredom, it is a primal neurological response to being confined in a space too small for your instincts. Your ancestors spent their lives mapping massive, complex, and unpredictable landscapes. Their brains were constantly stimulated by new spatial data. Your brain today, however, finds nothing to map in a repetitive cubicle. It is starving for the complexity and the unpredictability of the natural world. This chronic understimulation leads to a profound sense of mental fatigue, low motivation, and a persistent, nagging feeling of existential malaise. So, is there a simple fix? No. But realizing that your stress and malaise aren't personal failings, they are biological signals, is the first step. You can consciously reintroduce your brain and immune system to the inputs they crave: natural light, fresh air, and movement in the wild. It is not about going back to live in caves. It is about honoring the ancestral biological needs your body has carried for 300,000 years. For your entire evolutionary history, you were in constant, direct physical contact with the earth. Your bare skin touched the soil every single day.